The morning light hadn't even broken through my bedroom curtains when I heard the footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, angry. My bedroom door crashed open with such force that the handle left a dent in the wall. Get up, get out, now. My foster father's voice wasn't just loud, it was venomous. I blinked against the sudden brightness as he yanked the blanket off me, his face twisted into an expression I'd never seen before.
Pure, unfiltered rage. What? What's happening? You heard me, Marcus. Get your things and get the hell out of my house. I stumbled out of bed, my heart hammering against my ribs. This had to be a nightmare, some cruel joke on my 18th birthday. But when I reached the hallway, I saw her, Linda, my foster mother, standing rigid against the wall, her arms crossed, her eyes cold as a winter stone. "You need to leave," she said quietly, each word deliberate and cutting. "Right now." My mouth went dry.
Please, just tell me what I did wrong. I'll fix it, I promise. There's nothing to fix. David's voice came from behind me now, trapping me between them. We want you gone. The words hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. 14 years. They'd raised me since I was 4 years old, and now they were throwing me out like yesterday's garbage.
Is this because I'm black? The words tumbled out before I could stop them, raw, desperate, the question I had buried deep for years finally surfacing. David's jaw clenched. If that's really what you believe, after everything we've done for you, then maybe our friends were right about you from the start. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. We never loved you, Marcus. We never saw you as ours, and we don't want anything to do with you anymore. So get out. The world tilted sideways. I grabbed my backpack, shoved in whatever clothes I could reach, and walked out of the only home I'd ever known. The door slammed behind me with such finality that I felt it in my bones. The park bench was cold and unforgiving beneath me as the sun crawled over the horizon. I had $43 in my pocket, a half-charged phone, and absolutely nowhere to go. My hands were shaking, not from the morning chill, but from the shock still coursing through my system. I stared at my phone for what felt like hours before finally dialing. Dude, it's 7 in the morning. This better be good. Connor's voice was thick with sleep. They kicked me out. Silence. Who did? David and Linda. They told me to get out. Said they never loved me. The pause that followed felt eternal. Riverside Diner. 20 minutes. Don't move. Connor was already there when I arrived, sitting in our usual booth by the window. The moment he saw me, he stood up and pulled me into a hug that nearly broke me.
I hadn't cried yet, hadn't allowed myself to, but feeling his arms around me made the dam crack just slightly. "Tell me everything," he said. So I did. I told him about the subtle digs growing up, the way David and Linda's family would visit, how their children, my supposed cousins, would gather in circles that somehow never had room for me. The whispered conversations that stopped when I entered rooms, the birthday parties I wasn't invited to, despite living under the same roof as the kids who were. "Remember high school?" I asked Connor. "How they'd all eat lunch together at that corner table, and when I tried to join, they'd suddenly remember they had to go to the library or finish homework." Connor nodded grimly. "I remember. I also remember asking you why you put up with it." Because they were family. Or at least, I thought they were. Connor leaned back, his expression darkening. "You want my honest take. This is about race, Marcus.
Maybe they started with good intentions, but somewhere along the way, the judgment from their circle got too heavy. We're in the deep South, man. A white couple raising a black kid? That comes with baggage they clearly weren't equipped to handle. The truth of it settled over me like a weighted blanket. My parents got questions too, Connor continued. Why I hung out with you, whether you were a bad influence, but my folks told them to kick rocks. Your parents? They folded. 2 days later, I went back. I'd convinced myself there had to be an explanation, a misunderstanding. 14 years couldn't just evaporate over nothing. David's truck was in the driveway. I knocked on the front door, my heart in my throat. Through the window blinds, I saw him peek out, see me, and deliberately turn away. I knocked again, knocked harder. Finally, the door opened a crack. You need to leave, David said without emotion. Why? My voice cracked. Just tell me why. After 14 years, don't I deserve that much? Across the street, a neighbor's curtain shifted. Someone was watching. All those years, I pressed on, when your family treated me like I was invisible, like I didn't belong, why didn't you protect me? Why didn't you say something? David said, Marcus, I am asking you nicely to leave my property. I said this was my home. David said, I will call the police if you don't go, right now. The certainty in his voice shattered whatever hope I'd been clinging to. The man who taught me to ride a bike, who sat through my terrible middle school band concerts, who signed my report cards, that man was gone.
Or maybe he never really existed at all. I turned and walked away, feeling smaller with each step. 3 months later, the homeless shelter smelled like industrial cleaner and broken dreams, but it had a roof and a bed, which was more than I'd had sleeping on Connor's couch for weeks. I worked 3 jobs, mornings at a gas station, afternoons doing warehouse inventory, nights washing dishes at a chain restaurant. Every penny went into a jar hidden under my bed, every single one. I enrolled at Riverside Community College for night classes, business administration.
It wasn't glamorous, but it was a path forward. While my former cousins were posting fraternity photos from the state university, I was falling asleep over accounting textbooks in the fluorescent-lit classroom that smelled like coffee and desperation. But I didn't quit. 2 years later, the studio apartment was barely bigger than a closet, but the lease had my name on it. Mine. I stared at that piece of paper like it was a diploma from Harvard. I'd finished my associate's degree while working full-time at Sterling & Associates, a mid-sized marketing firm downtown. Started as a mail clerk, worked my way to administrative assistant, then junior project coordinator. That's when I met her. Rachel walked into the Monday morning meeting with coffee in one hand and confidence in the other. She was the new graphic designer, and within 10 minutes of her presentation, I knew I was in trouble. She was brilliant, sharp, funny in that understated way that catches you off guard. And when she smiled at my terrible joke about the printer jamming, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. We started with coffee breaks, then lunches, then dinners that stretched into late-night conversations about everything and nothing. Rachel didn't just listen. She saw me, the real me. Not the abandoned kid or the survivor or the guy with a chip on his shoulder, but Marcus. Just Marcus. 4 years later, the rooftop restaurant had cost me 6 months of savings, but watching Rachel's face as we stepped onto the terrace made every penny worth it. The city sprawled beneath us, a sea of lights against the darkening sky, and the sunset painted everything in shades of amber and rose. Marcus, I can't believe you did all this. You deserve everything, I said simply. and I intend to spend the rest of my life proving that. Dinner was perfect. We laughed until our sides hurt, reminisced about our first awkward date, talked about the life we wanted to build together. And when the waiter poured the final glasses of champagne, I felt my pocket for the 100th time, making sure the small velvet box was still there. My hands trembled as I lowered myself to one knee. Rachel, you walked into my life when I had convinced myself I didn't deserve good things. You taught me what home actually feels like. You're my best friend, my partner, my light in every dark moment. My voice cracked, but I pushed through. Will you marry me? For 3 heartbeats, she just stared at me, tears streaming down her face. Then she nodded, gasping out a yes that was half laugh, half sob. I slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, and when we stood, when I held her, the restaurant erupted in applause, but I barely heard it. In that moment, surrounded by strangers celebrating our joy, I felt something I'd never truly felt before. Whole. 6 months later, the Facebook message came through on a Tuesday afternoon. Marcus, this is Linda. We need to talk, please. We owe you an explanation for everything that happened. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Rachel found me sitting motionless at the kitchen table 20 minutes later. What's wrong? I showed her the message. What are you going to do? She asked softly. Delete it? Block them? Forget they exist? Or what? They destroyed me, Rachel. I was 18 years old, and they threw me away like I meant nothing. She sat down beside me, taking my hand. I know, and what they did was unforgivable. But maybe, just maybe, hearing them out gives you closure. Not for them, for you. I didn't want to admit she was right. But 3 days later, I agreed to meet them. The coffee shop felt too bright, too normal for this conversation. David and Linda sat across from me, both looking older than I remembered, worn down by something I couldn't name. David spoke first, his voice rough. We owe you the truth. When you turned 18, we discovered that $10,000 was missing from our emergency fund. Cash we kept in the house. Our friend Karen convinced us that you must have taken it. The words hit me like a physical blow. You thought I was a thief? Linda's eyes were red-rimmed. We were so hurt, so angry. Karen was so certain, and we, God help us, we believed her instead of trusting you. So you kicked me out, without asking, without even giving me a chance to defend myself? We were wrong, David said quietly. We were so terribly wrong. The rage that flooded through me was white-hot. They'd ruined my life over an accusation, hadn't even had the decency to ask me about it first. I left without another word. That night, I couldn't sleep, couldn't think about anything except Karen and her certainty, her conviction that I was a thief. I opened my laptop and started digging. Karen's social media was public. Photos of brunches, wine nights, gym selfies. But one post stopped me cold. A photo from 6 years ago, dated just 2 weeks after I'd been kicked out. A brand new cherry red BMW convertible. The caption, "Dreams do come true. Hard work pays off." The comments were full of congratulations, but one stood out. "Did you win the lottery?" Karen's response, "LOL, no, just good planning and some help from a friend."
My blood ran cold. I called Connor immediately. I need your help with something that might be slightly illegal. Finally! I've been waiting years for you to say that. The next day, Connor went to the BMW dealership posing as Karen's nephew, asking about adding custom features to her car as a surprise. The salesman, eager for a commission, pulled up her file. Looks like she paid a significant cash down payment, he said. $10,000 to be exact.
$10,000. Connor called me from the parking lot. We got her. I showed up at Karen's house unannounced. When she opened the door, I didn't give her time to recover from her shock. We need to talk about the money you stole. Her face went white. I don't know what. $10,000. Cash down payment on a BMW. The same amount that went missing from David and Linda's house 6 years ago. The same amount you convinced them I stole. She tried to close the door. I put my foot in the gap. You can explain it to me, or you can explain it to the police. Your choice. She crumbled. Right there in her doorway, she broke down completely, admitting everything. She'd been drowning in debt, saw an opportunity, and took it. She'd convinced David and Linda I was the thief because she was desperate and afraid. I recorded every word on my phone. When I played the recording for David and Linda 2 days later, they looked like I'd struck them. Marcus, there are no words, Linda whispered. We failed you in every possible way. You did, I agreed. You let your friend convince you I was a criminal without a shred of evidence. And before that, you let your family treat me like I was invisible for 14 years. You were supposed to protect me. You were supposed to be my parents. We want to make this right, David said desperately. However long it takes, whatever you need. What I need, I interrupted, is for you to understand that you can't fix this. The damage is done. I appreciate you finally telling me the truth, but I can't have a relationship with people who fundamentally didn't trust me. Who didn't fight for me when it mattered? Linda was crying openly now. We understand. We just want you to know how sorry we are. I stood to leave. I believe you, but sorry doesn't give me back those 6 years. Sorry doesn't change what you made me believe about myself. 3 weeks later, the wedding invitation sat on my desk for days. Rachel kept glancing at it, but she never pushed. I'm not inviting them, I finally said. Okay. You think I should? I think, she said carefully, that it's your wedding and your choice. But I also think you need to do whatever brings you peace. I thought about that for a long time, about forgiveness and closure and moving forward. In the end, David and Linda weren't at my wedding. But as I stood at the altar watching Rachel walk toward me, surrounded by Connor and the family I'd chosen, I realized something important. I didn't need their presence to be happy. I didn't need their approval to know my worth. I just needed this, Rachel's hand in mine, a future full of possibility, and the knowledge that I'd survived everything they'd put me through and built something beautiful anyway. 2 years later, our daughter Emma was born on a Tuesday morning, arriving 3 weeks early and screaming her displeasure at the world. The moment the nurse placed her in my arms, something inside me shifted permanently. I looked down at her tiny face, her eyes squeezed shut, her fingers curling around mine, and made a silent promise. I will never make you question whether you're loved. I will never let anyone make you feel invisible. I will fight for you every single day, no matter what. Rachel squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her face. She's perfect. She really is. I still get messages from David and Linda sometimes. Usually around holidays, they're always apologetic, always hoping for another chance. I wrote them a letter a few months ago. I told them I forgave them, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved to stop carrying that anger. I told them I wasn't ready for a relationship, and I might never be, but I wished them well. Rachel was right about forgiveness. It wasn't for them. It was for me. Because every time I hold Emma, every time I watch her sleep, or hear her laugh, I'm reminded that the best revenge isn't anger. It's building a life so full of love and joy and purpose that the people who try to break you become nothing more than a distant memory. And that's exactly